We're so done with new year, new you. This year, it's more you on Bumble. More of you shamelessly sending playlists, especially that one filled with show tunes. More of you finding Geminis because you know you always like them. More of you dating with intention because you know what you want. And you know what? We love that for you. Someone else will too. Be more you this year and find them on Bumble.
Welcome to Don't Retire, Graduate, the podcast that asks you what you want to be when you grow up so you can graduate into retirement with a purpose and a passion. I'm your host and valedictorian, Eric Brotman, and after nearly 200 episodes and a year-long hiatus, Don't Retire, Graduate is back for Season 6. We'll be bringing you interviews with amazing guests every other Thursday, and on alternating weeks, we're hosting a new segment called Diary of a Financial Advisor, which we know you'll all enjoy. So please subscribe and check out all our new episodes every Thursday. Our guest today is a fascinating gentleman who's been helping young people get into college and, more importantly, helping families pay for it for over 40 years. Our guest is Dr. Kuni Beasley. He's been helping students reach their college goals of all types. Since 2011, Dr. Beasley and his team have helped students earn over $300 million in scholarships and grants, and students have been admitted to top institutions across the country, the Ivy League, the service academies, top-tier colleges and universities. His SAT and ACT prep program has been used in public and private schools in over 20 states. Dr. Beasley was the Dean of New College Preparatory Academy with 22 sites across the country, from Springfield, Massachusetts, to Hot Springs, Arkansas, to Palm Springs, California. Dr. Beasley holds a BS from Texas Christian University, an MBA from Oklahoma City University, a Doctor of Ministry from Tyndale Cemetery, and PhD from University of Texas at Arlington. He went to college for 22 years, and get this, he paid for only one semester. Dr. Beasley, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
One of the fun things about a bio like yours is I don't even know where to begin. I will begin by saying I'm pretty sure I referred to your seminary as a cemetery. It's not. Tyndale Seminary is where you got.
Some people think that.
Listen, we're all human, and I believe I said it was a cemetery. Hopefully, that's not where you got that particular degree. Would you introduce yourself for our audience today and tell us a little bit about how you got into specifically this line of work? It's fascinating to me.
Well, I was actually started doing this in the late 70s. I was assigned in the Army as a test control officer. One of my jobs was to find educational opportunities for service members so they could finish high school and get college degrees. And I really got into it. And I started doing research, and I've been researching this since about 1978. And I stumbled upon institutions that were very favorable to helping military people advance their education, and began to learn more and more and more. Of course, went off, got married, started having kids, and had to take care of their college. And in the meantime, I went to Texas Christian on full scholarship. I was on an ROTC scholarship. They paid for everything, plus they gave me money every month. And then I used the military GI Bill and a bunch of other things. And then with my last batch of kids, I put let's see if I do this. My wife was a high school dropout, and in 2014, she graduated from Harvard University with full honors, cum laude. I put her and her two daughters through college for less than $30,000.
Oh my gosh!
And with her part was $22,000. Most of that was the apartment in Cambridge. There's just ways of finding the money. You just have to know what you're doing. But most people don't know what they're doing. I'm going to say 60% of the college, whatever you want to call them out there, they are really not professionals in this. There's only about a handful of us who can really perform the brain surgery. What I tell people is most of the other people who are doing this business are ambulance drivers. There's about 25 of us who are brain surgeons. And so we know how to, not so much manipulate the system, but where the opportunities are. And if you know where the opportunities are, it's like, what's the secret of walking on water? You know where the rocks are. Okay. So it's our business. We know where the rocks are. And we approach this from a very wide perspective. For example, last week, our first Service Academy appointment came in, and it was a homeschooler to the Merchant Marine Academy. So our first Service Academy appointee was a homeschooler. About 20% of my clientele base are homeschoolers, and we've gotten them in the service academies, the Ivy Leagues, got them full scholarships. And a lot of people say it can't be done with homeschoolers. I just say, well, stand by and watch.
Wow. Well, here's the good news. The good news is my daughter is 14 as we record this, and I get the opportunity to get some free advice from you before I potentially sign up and work with your program, because I'm looking at college sticker prices just like other parents, and we certainly are doing that with clients and helping them with their kids and their grandkids. And the sticker price, which I realize very few people actually fully pay, but some do, and the sticker price for these schools is outrageous. And financial aid is not something that a lot of people are able to rely on. And even with a decent income, it's hard to put 1, 2, 3 kids through school simultaneously if you're writing the check. And so, we've been helping clients save for college for years. That, I guess, is part of the ambulance. But tell me about the brain surgery, because I am no surgeon, but I'm ready to find out. Yeah.
I saved this much for college.
Okay.
Absolutely zero. First off, we have to understand there's 5 types of money for college, and we actually use the acronym MONEY, MONEY. Merit-based money. That's academic scholarships, athletic scholarships, activity scholarships. I mean, we had a girl get a full scholarship to UCLA in theater costume design. Okay, and they're out there. The scholarships are out there. Okay, next is what we call opportunity money. This is money that you have that somebody offers you. You have to give something in exchange. That's where an ROTC scholarship comes in, which is the best scholarship in the country right now today, is an ROTC scholarship. Employer payment, work study. There's different types of ways where you can find opportunity. I mean, we had one girl, in fact, she's the one poster girl on our Facebook page. She got what we call campus-based money. She ended up being an RA, and she paid nothing for college. I mean, we got scholarship money on top of her RA money, on top of a few other. And she says, mom and dad didn't have to pay a penny for college, and neither did I. She didn't. In fact, she made money going to college. And so there's just ways of understanding the system. The opportunities are there. It's like fish in the ocean. The fish are there. You just got to get a good net, go to the right fishing grounds.
Okay. And what's the end? You got me on bated breath here.
Okay. When you say what the end?
In money, I got merit, I got opportunity, but you have me literally on the edge of my seat. Need-based, okay.
N is need-based. Okay,
yeah.
Need-based doesn't mean needy, okay? It means the difference between what the FAFSA says you should be able to pay and what it's going to cost you for college. Okay, that's the gap, the need. Okay, when I had my wife and both her daughters in college at the same time, my college bill was $72,000 a year. Now, according to the FAFSA, I should be able to pay $36,000 of that, and the rest of it was need-based. So they got Pell Grants, and I assure you, this $36,000 they expected me to pay, I didn't pay. Okay, but there's just the need-based is for example, places like Harvard and Princeton. If your adjusted gross income is below $80,000, you go for free. I mean, tuition fees, room and board, free. And if it's below like $120,000, they'll cover tuition. A lot of your more expensive colleges have very handsome financial aid packages. In fact, that's one of the things that my wife got when she went to Harvard. She got a very good financial aid package. I paid $596 her first semester at Harvard.
That's unbelievable. All right, so we got need-based.
Okay.
We're on the E.
Okay. E, entitlement. Okay. Things such as GI Bill, things that in-state tuition, in-district tuition, those are entitlements. Some of these entitlements have what's called reciprocity, which means 2 states, like, for example, Texas and Louisiana, they have reciprocity so that a Texas student can go to Louisiana state schools at state rates, and Louisiana students can come to Texas schools at state rates. There's a lot of types of reciprocity that are there. There's also entitlements. We had a student who was legally deaf. He got to go to state schools in Texas for free. Orphans, foster children, different types of categories where you get entitlements. But even with the U.S. government, every U.S. citizen and legal resident is entitled to some form of government aid. A lot of people don't apply for it because they say, oh, we make too much money. Nobody makes too much money to get financial aid from the government.
Interesting.
Okay?
Interesting.
Now,
all right. Well, that's a new wrinkle. We're gonna come back to that, but I got to hear why yet.
Why is your own money? Okay.
Aha.
Every institution in the United States will accept your check, your credit card, or your money order, to pay for it. Now, there are strategies you can use. If you're going to take it out of hide, there are strategies you can use that will minimize the amount of money you have to pay out. And so For example, doing what we call a 2+2, 2 years community college, 2 years in a 4-year college. Means of stacking credits, taking CLEP exams, AP exams, Dante's exams to stack credits. We had a student who actually worked through and finished his college degree in a little over 6 months because he stacked credits, took the test, and there are just ways of watching the credits and gaining the credits. And there's some colleges that, if you accumulate the appropriate credits, they'll issue you a degree. Legitimate state universities will issue you a degree.
I'm dumbfounded, doctor. So this is a completely different take than I've ever heard. And we've met with admissions officers, we've met with financial aid officers, we've certainly met with all of the financial institutions that can't wait to have you save money in 100 different ways. And all the states have their college savings plans and their 529s, and they give tax subsidies and deductions in certain cases to try and incent that. But the state's also making money on those plans, so that's not altruistic per se. So the merit piece is let's start there, because
let me just go
please.
ahead.
Now, I was going to say the merit piece. We have a musical theater kid, and we're going to be looking at programs that have a BFA, and we'll be looking. And I have one of my dearest friends has a daughter who's a senior in college. And they have to not only apply to all these schools, then have to audition for these schools to get into the programs they're looking for. And she's applying to 24 schools, which is also expensive. They're also doing 2 national auditions. There's one in Chicago and one in Dallas that are national, where lots of schools go to try and get into the program from a merit standpoint, from a talent standpoint. All of that costs a fair amount of money. And they, of course, have hired a consultant to help with navigating that process as well. So it feels like there's a lot of different, very expensive ways to go find this solution. And you're suggesting there might be some inexpensive ways to find that merit aid.
Yes. Well, let me just give you an example. One of my clients is a member of the Dallas Symphony, plays trombone. Okay. Of course, both his boys are very musically talented. Both of them went to state. His most recent one is just graduated this last year, was all-state cello. Okay. Now, both of his sons got merit scholarships to the University of Alabama. Now, University of Alabama, automatic scholarship. You've got a 32 ACT and a 3.5, automatic, $28,000 a year, $112,000. Okay. Automatic. Now, they were both wanted to major in engineering, so they got the engineering scholarship and they got a music scholarship on top of that. Dad doesn't have to pay anything. He's got 2 kids. University of Alabama basically pays for their airfare.
Now, that's at University of Alabama, of course, is a state institution. Is that true of private institutions too, or is this a state?
You can do this stuff at private institutions. I had a kid, Chapman University out in California. He had nearly a maximum. He maxed the math portion of the SAT. He got a full scholarship, tuition fees, room and board. There's a lot of colleges out there. You have to target the colleges that give money away. You just don't go to any college and say, I've got good grades, good test scores, I should get a scholarship. Right. I mean, where I live in Texas, what would get you into the University of Texas in Austin would get you a full scholarship at the University of Texas at Dallas.
Interesting. So some of it is which campus you're on. Yeah, I mean, we're not all that far. Yeah, we're not all that far from Penn State, where there are a ton of different campuses, and we're in Maryland, right, where University of Maryland's got a few campuses. So certainly that's an option as well. How much of the merit-based aid is based on the SAT and ACT? How much is based on grades? Because I get the sense that grade inflation is real, and that some of these weighted GPAs sound kind of absurd, and that schools are trying to almost inflate the grades of their kids so they can say, hey, look at all the schools we got into. Can we rely on grades very much, or is it really the standardized testing? You
can rely on grades because most of the colleges will look at unweighted grades because the weighting system is too much variable. And they'll look at the test scores. Now, we went through the test optional phase, which was a disaster.
Of course.
People still don't realize that although it was test optional, you were half again more likely to be admitted if you had test scores that were at least in the median 50% and higher than you were if you didn't turn in your test scores. Okay. And the other thing is a major Ivy League college, I'm not going to mention its name, they had a windfall of $7 million of additional revenue because people were applying on a wing and a prayer and without their test scores. Now, of course, it drove down their admission rate, so it made them look more exclusive. But just because you had more people apply, and they made $7 million more money, and it became a cash cow
on application fees.
Yeah, application fees. I don't think a lot of colleges are still going to keep test optional because it's a revenue generator.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Yeah, I mean, you got to
So
remember these places are businesses. I mean, in Harvard University itself, Bill O'Reilly says it's a hedge fund. It's not really a college.
well,
Yeah,
which makes me wonder, and this is a show for a different day. It makes me wonder why they're tax exempt. And I know that'll make me real unpopular real fast, but at some point, are they really nonprofits when they have $1 billion endowments? I don't
well, they have
know.
the
It's
endowments,
hard to argue.
but the money goes back into the school. It's not paying dividends. Okay,
Right.
and it is
Well, that's
paying
fair.
for. It's got. I've had 3 students there in the last few years, and it paid for their tuition and fees, room and board. So I don't
Okay.
complain about that too much. But
Fair
but
enough.
again, it gets back to understanding how to navigate this maze. And most people don't know. I mean, your high school counselors don't know. Most of them couldn't name the Ivy League colleges. I do have a anecdote here. I used to present at the Texas High School Counselors annual conference in Galveston until about 7 years ago, when I had a workshop and there was about 40 counselors in the room. Half of them had PhDs in counseling, and I asked, "Okay, name the Ivy League schools." And it wasn't until one of the ladies Googled it on her phone that we got an accurate list.
Oh my goodness.
You want to try it?
I know what they are. I can do that in my sleep. You
Okay,
put me
go.
on the spot. Columbia.
Okay, this is the
Brown.
right answer. This is the wrong answer.
Okay, Columbia, Brown, Dartmouth, Penn, Harvard, Princeton, Cornell, and Columbia.
You got it. You're the first person that's done it.
The Ancient Eight. Well, I went to Penn, so it's a little bit
Okay,
unfair.
it
I
helps.
knew those.
Yeah.
I knew those schools cold because I
Yeah,
was lucky enough to attend
that's
one of them. But yeah,
Well, what we do is
that's amazing.
I do an acronym. I say, okay, here's your acronym: BCCD. Happy, take out the A. BCCD: Brown, Columbia, Cornell, Dartmouth. H: Harvard, Penn, Princeton, Yale.
That's good. I have people who still. I have family members who still think I went to Penn State. They don't know what Penn is, but that's fine.
And
I had
they'll
a
put
great experience
Stanford in
there.
the Ivy League, Duke in the Ivy League, Chicago. And I said,
MIT?
Stanford can't be in the Ivy League. If it was in the Ivy League, it couldn't go to the Rose Bowl.
That's
the Ivy
funny.
League is an athletic association.
Correct. And it's funny. I met somebody who was a Stanford alum recently, and I said, that's the wannabe Ivy of the West Coast. And she didn't love that, but it's fine. They do get to go play football over there, so that's good. Let's talk about need-based, because the FAFSA is something, and of course the FAFSA got adjusted a year or so ago, and and it was a cluster because it looked like the government put out some new forms before they were ready, and applications were being delayed, and it just didn't work. FAFSA sounds kind of like a nightmare, and we represent folks. We represent folks, many of whom are over a limit where it feels like the FAFSA is even worth spending time on. You would say it's still worth spending time on.
Oh, yes. So, okay. Number one, over 80% of the people make mistakes on the FAFSA. That's from DOE itself, Department of Education. 80% of the people. In fact, I had a CPA who needed help on his FAFSA, and I reworked his FAFSA, and there was a $20,000 differential in what he was eligible for.
Really?
Because and he was a CPA. Because most people don't know how to fill out the FAFSA. They don't understand the FAFSA. They try to fill it out online without doing their homework. Because we have them print out the form and fill it in first. Then I review the form, the paper form or the PDF, and then we go and we plug it in. What happens is they go in and they start plugging it in. We had one family where the term they kept on using, what is your income? What is your assets? And the parents were filling it out, and they were filling it out for themselves. So according to FAFSA, the kid made $80,000 a year.
Okay.
They make mistakes like that, and once you hit that send button, it's gone into the ether world, and you have to go to every individual college and fix it.
Wow. Okay. So getting the FAFSA right the first time is a major time saver for sure.
Yes. It doesn't. And if you do it right and you got your records together, hour and a half. Okay. And I review the FAFSA and send it off. And I mean, there are strategies. Well, I'm going to give you an example. I had a relatively wealthy gentleman, had probably had 12 million in assets. And at that time, the parental loan was, I think, about 4%. But his portfolio was performing at about 11%, 10%. And I said, you're going to have a better chance of retaining more of your wealth by going ahead, taking out the loans while the kid is in college, and then using your portfolio and the proceeds from your portfolio to pay it back after college is over, because you're going to have a differential of about 6%. So you don't want to take that savings and apply it to college. Take out the loan and then pay the loan back with your portfolio.
Well, and that's certainly, there's a lot of variables there. Obviously, interest rates are not as low as they were, and portfolios sometimes don't behave exactly the way we'd like them to year in and year out. So there's a little bit of risk involved in that, although I can certainly appreciate the arbitrage of trying to do that. Some of the things that we've talked about are the ROTC piece, the GI Bill piece. Those I think people fully either understand, or if their kids are exploring those, there's a military community that I think is very supportive of young people who want to do that. That's not for everyone, certainly, but for those folks,
it's a most people don't even know it exists.
Maybe that's true.
Families who they know about West Point, they know about Naval Academy, but all they know about is, that's where the Navy sends. That's where Navy people send their kids, is what they think. That's where Army people send their kids. They don't know what it is about. They don't. I mean, yesterday I was doing my initial consultation with a student from California, and I brought up ROTC, and he goes, "Oh, that's military. What is that?" And most of them don't know. Most of them don't know the opportunities there. In fact, there is a National Guard scholarship. Does not have an active duty requirement that actually pays more than the ROTC scholarship.
Really?
Yeah,
and there's no active duty. You're part of the. So you can be called up to the National Guard during your educational years or thereafter.
No, not your education. Here's what happens. You join the National Guard. You join ROTC on campus as a non-scholarship student. Okay, and then what's called the Minuteman. The Minuteman will pay your tuition, plus you're going to get your regular ROTC pay was $450 a month. Plus you're going to get your reserve pay, was another $500 a month. So you got about $900 pizza money every month. Okay. Your obligation is 8 years in reserves. You got to have a whooping 2.8 and a 1,000 SAT to qualify. And 2 years ago, they couldn't give them enough away. They had a surplus.
So for many years, 3 decades plus, we've been counseling families on how to do this. And one of the things that we've suggested to people for many, many years is don't bankrupt yourself trying to educate your kids unless you're planning to live in one of their basements later. You'll have really educated kids and no retirement funds for yourself. And so I use the airplane safety lecture to talk a little bit about this with people, which is, if there's a loss of cabin pressure, masks are going to drop down. Put your own mask on before securing the mask of anyone else. And it's sort of true that way too. Retirement's the only thing you can't borrow for. You have to save for that. And so, I don't like to see families, and I don't want to be one of those families that has such a well-educated kid that we can't retire. And I think we've done a pretty good job of planning for this, and maybe you'll have a different spin on it if we were to engage. But what do you tell those families with multiple kids who are really trying to prioritize their kids' education over their retirement? Are you really in a, hey, we can do both type of situation rather than you have to choose one or the other?
No. Well, let me put it this way. If you have to touch your retirement, there is no college in the United States that is worth touching your retirement. That college does not exist.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. You cannot tell me by going to a higher profile college or a more expensive college that somehow it's going to amortize itself over time. The Kruger study, which started in 1972, tracked people who were admitted to Harvard and tracked those who actually went and those who didn't go. And after 40 years, no significant difference in income, no significant difference in success. Okay, there is not one single study that says if you go to school X, you're going to have an advantage over everybody else because they went to school Y. That doesn't exist.
That is extremely quotable, Doctor, and I know we're going to see that again because that is I think gospel. So what are we seeing in lieu of that? You don't want to touch your retirement, you don't want to touch your long-term money, but you want to make sure your kids have an opportunity.
Okay, you start early. Like in your case, 14-year-old, she's in the 9th grade, right?
Yep, sure is.
Okay. Every day after the first day of the 9th grade that you are not on a formal program, you're losing $100 a day of opportunity money.
Interesting.
Because you need to start early. And because, see, a lot of people think, we've got time or whatever, or we'll get around to it. And then they come to me middle of the junior year. What do we do now, Dr. Beasley? And I go, I told you 2 years ago you should have started. So what you do is you start building the resume. You start building it. You start testing them early. That you need to get them in the SAT and ACT early. Test early and test often. Because the colleges will always take your best score. All of this myth about they average your scores and those kinds of, no, not a single college in the country that will average your test scores. They will always take your best scores. In fact, most colleges will super score. They'll take your highest component score over multiple tests. Harvard does that. So, so you want to get your testing strategy set up. You want to get good grades. There's no substitute for good grades. So one of the things that we do with our kids is we package them. Okay, we want their resumes to shine. So we just had 3 students finish the congressional award. This is where your congressman awards you a gold or silver medal for your self-development and community service. So we're going to be posting those. So that's on your resume. You get the Presidential Volunteer Service Award, letter signed by the president. Thank you for your volunteer work. Okay, we work with them, things like going to Boys State and Girls State, because that's the highest single honor you can get in high school. Most people don't even know it exists. Most high school counselors.
I'm not familiar with that. I'm not familiar with that.
But the people in the admissions office, they know what these things are.
Interesting.
Things like that are going to build your resume up, that you're getting experience, that you become an asset for the university. So if you become an asset for the university, they're going to pay you to go there. So you start working these scholarships. I have one family, 6 kids. Every one of them got a full scholarship to college. I started them in the 8th grade.
Have you written a book, or you're not giving out your secret sauce? Because that's
I'm starting to do a series of essays that I'll be developing on this. I don't, everything that I've learned, somebody else can learn. You can, it's not. There's no secrets about these things. It's just I just know the information. But it's like your surgeon. Your surgeon knows the information too. And it's on. You can go to YouTube and learn how to take out your own appendix. Russian doctor did it in Antarctica. Okay. But people say, well, I can do this myself. I had a mom come up to me and says, a diligent parent, you can do this yourself. And I said, yeah, you probably could. She says, I did it. My son got a National Merit Scholarship. I said, well, what did he get? And he said, I only have to pay $40,000 a year. I'm sitting there going, National Merit, and you have to pay money? Okay. You get a National Merit Scholarship, the colleges will line up and start throwing, gifts at your feet. But some people will go to a different college and not take the money from, colleges that are offering them lots of money.
Interesting.
It's like John Dillinger says, why did you rob banks? Because that's where the money is.
All right. Well, I think there's going to be a line around your door after this show goes live, because a lot of people are going to want to talk to you. And I'm going to let you tell everybody how to get in touch with you and how to learn more. But first, I have to ask you a fundamental question, because, you've been doing this for 40 years. And the theme of our show is, of course, never retiring in the traditional sense. Life's too short to spend a third of it, watching daytime TV and playing shuffleboard. So what do you want to be when you grow up? What's the plan?
Well, I want to be a little bit lighter, and but I'm going to continue to do this. I'll die at my desk like Einstein did. I just turned 69, and I'm going to continue to do this and help people and develop this and find new ways of doing this. Because I've got other things I want to work on. I've got a learning program where I can help people transform and raise their grades significantly. I've got different things I want to do that's going to be able to advance human capital. And so that's really, I'm going to focus on that and continue to do this, continue to help people get into college and save money.
Well, it sounds like you've already found your passion. And a wise man, I believe, once said that if you love your work, you never work a day in your life. So it sounds like that's where you are. I congratulate you not only on having a phenomenal vitae yourself, but also helping so many people. I'm sure you have made not only customers or clients, but heroes. I'm sure a lot of people are really very, very happy. How can folks learn more about what you do and find you online and so forth?
Well, they can go to my website, beasleycollegeprep.com. And if they want to set up, we will offer a free consultation. Unless I have a stampede, then I'll turn it into a webinar. I'll invite everybody to the webinar. But free consultation, and beasleycollegeprep.com. And if they want to email us, it's info@beasleycollegeprep.com. Okay?
Fascinating.
We have a lot of information we give away for free, and just to help people along.
This has been fun. I've enjoyed this. I could talk to you for hours, and now I feel like I've wasted $100 a day for several months already. So apparently we have a lot to talk about on that front too.
Yes.
Dr. Beasley, thank you. Thank you for being a part of the program. I really have enjoyed having you on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you all for listening today. If you enjoy our show, please subscribe, leave a rating on your favorite podcast platform, and share it with your friends and family so they can join you on your journey to financial freedom. If you'd like to send us a topic or idea you'd like to discuss in a future episode of Don't Retire, Graduate, please post it on our Facebook page or tweet us at Brotman Planning. We'll be back next week with another entry in our Diary of a Financial Advisor, and in 2 weeks with another engaging guest. For now, this is your host, Eric Brotman, reminding you, don't retire, graduate.
Securities offered through Kestra Investment Services, LLC, Kestra IS, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Kestra Advisory Services, LLC, Kestra AS, an affiliate of Kestra IS. Kestra IS or Kestra AS are not affiliated with Brotman Financial or any other entity discussed.
How much do you understand the future of finance? I'm Jim Roos, a top 10 banking influencer and host of the podcast Banking Transformed, where we dive deeply into the rapidly evolving world of banking and financial technology. Join me as I interview industry experts, thought leaders, and innovators as they unravel the latest banking trends, disruptions, and game-changing technologies reshaping the world of finance. Redefine your understanding of the banking ecosystem. Subscribe now to Banking Transformed, available wherever you get your podcast and now available on YouTube.